Hi guys, and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're returning, thank you. Alright, I just got done doing Gemini, you guys, so we're on Cancer. So I got some new decks out here, and we got past insight, future advice, we got some mental, physical, spiritual, emotional cards we're going to pull. We got a shadow work card we're going to pull, or something to look at here. We got our surrender deck, and we got our affirmation and our spiral oracle. I have been getting a message about the Fibonacci, okay, and how the sequence of events is cyclic, and little changes make big picture changes that we can't see in the moment in the spiral, okay, this wheel energy, this Jupiter energy. Of course, I did just do Gemini and Gemini. Jupiter's in Gemini right now. So Cancer, you guys have Mars in the Cancer house right now, and Mars has been in there for a minute, and we're going to see what comes out for you guys. So let's go ahead and get a little well, actually we're going to just go ahead and start with the Lantern Oracle. Oh, we're not. I feel like these need a shuffle again. I do shuffle these between readings, but sometimes I think somebody had commented, oh, so much shuffling. Well, if it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right. So we gotta acclimate. There we go. Well, we got two, guys. Okay, we got the Lantern, and we got Strength of Vulnerability. Ooh, I love this. Okay, so we got this woman, and I believe this came out for, I don't remember, I think it might have been Libra or last round of readings, but it's really about seeing and knowing and feeling the knowing. I will read the deal for that, but she's definitely holding a lot, and it's got a lot. She's feeling a lot. Doesn't necessarily have to see her way through anything. She has the Lantern, the inner lantern, and the rise of consciousness is what this card is about. Solving the world, and there's a whole new way of navigating through life with this higher consciousness, and this lighting the way through the rise of consciousness, and getting through any storms, knowing that you have your own light source, your own compass. Okay, we also have Strength of Vulnerability. This is, I'm feeling this for Cancers. I do have a Cancer sun, you guys, and my Mercury. So this is definitely something I feel like Cancers have been working on, because we were always so we're always so emotional. And we're either really good at dumping all that emotion onto everybody and everything in our lives, especially in our youth. I feel like Cancers were either really closed off or really emotional, and then got closed off because they caught a lot of crap for being emotional, or they did a lot of crap in their life because of emotional situations that they didn't know how to handle, for lack of, it's just maturity and lack of consciousness. That rise in consciousness, that understanding, that awareness brings us to a place where we see where our true power is at, and that is at being honest and vulnerable about our humanity and about our weaknesses, our strengths. It says true power lies at the root of a perceived weakness. And as I was talking about that, I know as a Cancer sun and Mercury, I used to tell myself that my emotions are, they're strong, they're strength. Emotions makes you a strong person to be able to show your emotions, to share yourself emotionally with people. But then I went through a time where I did that, and I felt I got rejected, or felt put down, judged, rejected, not accepted, because of those emotions. And I didn't really accept myself for being the emotional human being I was either. Not even acknowledging my own emotional stuff, just kind of running from it, or hiding from it, or numbing it, or there's a lot to being emotionally vulnerable, and it's hard to show emotional vulnerability to people, especially if you have old wounds or things you haven't necessarily came to terms with, or haven't come up to your conscious awareness of why you might be running or hiding or lying about your true emotions, or your emotional body, and like how you feel about things, because feelings are important. But a lot of the times, especially I feel like with the Cancerian energy, emotions can run the show, and that's not necessarily good either, because emotions are emotions. They're a very human thing. And I love that about humans. We're very emotional creatures. But there is a knowing that comes along, and we know that just because I'm sad doesn't mean I'm going to die or I'm not going to be happy. We know logically, but it could feel like it's the end of the world. It could feel like it's a catastrophic thing. And then we do catastrophic things in that mindset that this is the end of the world. This is catastrophic. So guess what? We contribute to the catastrophic energy with our emotional energy. That is a lot. And I hope that came out right and you can understand what I'm saying. But being honest and vulnerable and saying, this is how I feel, but I'm not going to react from that place of this emotion. I'm just going to acknowledge it and see it for what it is, put it out there as it is, and say, yes, this makes me feel vulnerable, this makes me feel weak, or this makes me feel this way, but I'm not going to be, it doesn't make me weak, it doesn't make me, that's the feeling, okay? The feeling is different. This is something that's taken me a long time to learn, you guys, so I am speaking from personal experience on this. So I do want to read this real quick, the Lantern. And the Strength of Vulnerability. We got, by the way, 44, card 44, and card 4, 4, 4, 4, it's 12. Also, Gemini's dice added up to 12 also. So, in these decks I'm using, I roll a dice for each aspect, and that's the card I take after the shuffle. So, I won't get into the whole process, but it says, the crone has completed the circle of phases and perspectives pertaining to the feminine consciousness, maiden, mother, guardian, and crone. The lanterns hanging from the featured crone's wrists illuminate her world with the clarity of having integrated her spirit self and herself. She has successfully released all of the illusory filters that had created limiting effects on her mind and fed the unhelpful aspects of the ego. The white light of love that the crone can now reach all that is within her periphery, which means it can touch others around her now because she has a way to, and it's a more understanding way of sharing her wisdom and her true spiritual self through her physical self with the world. That connection, that understanding that, hey, I know what I'm carrying here, and I know what I got to share, and I don't need to necessarily, and this has been a message too, just even before I started doing readings, I've been getting this message about the little things that aren't seen or acknowledged, making a big difference in the bigger picture. And I've been kind of calling it the Fibonacci message, and I've gotten this over, in the last year, I've gotten a lot about that, but it's definitely coming into this round of readings, and it has been this week especially. Without judgment or expectation, she is now capable of objectively observing all with compassionate consideration and calm composure. And that's what I was talking about the emotional kind of imbalance or instability of us not being able to, in our immaturity or our naivety or our lower conscious states of minds that we go through, we may not fully see the effect that those emotional states can have on us and then we have on our environment. So we can calmly show compassion without getting wrapped up in it or without becoming a part of it or without making it worse. Hopefully better, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're always going to make everything better either. Sometimes it's just about being there with your presence and knowing that you can understand and you have this understanding with the world around you, and just all of the stuff, all of the emotions, there's this huge raging sea behind her. It's very emotional. It's very crazy out there, but there is this calm understanding that I know my way. I've found my way through this, and I hold a lot of compassion and connection to it all, but I am still walking through this calm, cool, collected. That's what I'm getting. In the Strength and Vulnerability, I'm going to also read that, which is card 4. So we got 44 and 4. And it says the true power lies at the root of perceived weakness. Feelings of vulnerability arise when we are treated as if we are, or we believe ourselves to be, incapable of adequately protecting or providing for ourselves. It may be what we feel somewhat dependent or insecure in a relationship. And this is where that, oh, you may not feel like, you may feel like rejected or not accepted, or like people aren't seeing like the work you've done, or seeing that your feelings are very important, or even that their own feelings are very important. Then their feelings might be controlling things in their lives and they don't even see it because they're in it. And I say this all the time in my life. When you're in it, it's really hard to see it. And I think that's why things like this and talking to others and connecting with others is important, and taking what others have to say and their experiences and sharing to heart, and saying that's me too. Like seeing yourself in others' journeys, and especially if they went through or are going through things that are similar, or they can understand, relate, have compassion and empathy for the situation, they may have something to offer you in that moment. It says our vulnerability presents us with the fears and the uncertainty we need to confront and overcome in our personal development. It shows us where we're scared. It shows us where we're afraid. It shows us what we need to get through to grow. Our vulnerabilities are learning curves, okay? What makes us feel weak or whatever is actually showing us what we need to overcome to feel strong, okay? And it doesn't mean overcoming it with a fierce, but Mars is in Cancer right now. Let's use this like kind of fiery, spiritual, passionate energy to overcome those fears, but not create havoc, with the, it's becoming cool, calm, and collected. And I love that is part of this message with Mars in Cancer right now, because being cool, calm, and collective with Mars energy in this Cancerian house right now is just important. It's important to stay composed and grounded, okay, with our emotions especially. If we listen to and accept our feelings of weakness, and it's hard to do that sometimes, and what seems threatening, what is making you feel threatened, or what insecure, or there's oh my gosh, like other things that are happening around you could be making you feel insecure and feel threatened and scared. Why are you scared? And what do we need to look at in ourselves that says, it's okay to feel that way, but it's not doing me any good really to feel that way. If anything, I could be self-sabotaging because of my fears instead of looking at my strengths and the fact that I can admit that scares me. And why does that scare me? Maybe whatever the reason or the root is to that. You will find when you ask yourself those important questions. It says we can identify effective ways to prepare and learn to support ourselves to survive them. So through these fears, if we can acknowledge them, we can say, okay, worst case scenario, my biggest fear is this. How can I prepare myself for the worst case scenario, but not live in it? Because it's not happened. These are fears. We do not want to feed our fears, but we always want to be prepared that our feelings could get hurt, or we could be rejected, or if I share my tears with this person, or I share my life or my story of addiction with, this could happen. I am prepared for that. That's okay. But I'm not going to let it make me or break me. And it's better for me, and it's better for my spirit, my soul, to overcome those fears so that I can look at them objectively and say, they're fears. This is just simply a fear and a feeling that I'm not going to let control my life or my actions, in my life. That's a very important message coming through. And it says we can survive them, master them, and thrive beyond them. And that is the truth, you guys. We can thrive, master, and move beyond our fears and our doubts. And those feelings, the feelings are always there. But we don't have to let those, and feelings usually do come from, especially feelings of fear and doubt and rejection and stuff. They come from a place that it does feel weak. It does feel vulnerable. It does feel, and that's okay. Like, I don't think there's probably one person in the world that doesn't have one part of them that they feel is vulnerable or it's exposed, or if it's exposed, it could be hurt. We all have that place in us, But it says your life experiences and current resources are not random, but perfectly equipped. They perfectly equip you to take on whatever makes you feel vulnerable. So whatever makes you feel vulnerable, let's say just going, I don't know, out to dinner with a partner or friends, or maybe talking about your journey. It's going to make you feel vulnerable, uncomfortable. We go beyond our comfortable boundaries, our comfortable limits, our fears, our anxieties, and our vulnerabilities. And we find sometimes, we will be rejected. Sometimes we will be judged. Sometimes we will be made fun of. Sometimes we will be whatever. But a lot comes from it when you are accepted and you are loved exactly with your vulnerabilities, with your weaknesses, with your flaws. This was a message through the last round of readings, you guys, about this humanity, this human acceptance of our human learning journeys. We are on a very learning journey. This is a journey of learning and growing and evolution, and we are actually able to comprehend with our human minds that this is a journey of learning and a journey of lessons and a journey of growth and a journey of everything. It's just so much, you guys. I feel so passionately about our journeys as humans, and that we are so able to comprehend that, yes, I learned from this. I just feel like a lot of, animals learn lessons, but it doesn't mean they consciously think about them. They just learn, We actually get the pleasure of being able to sit there and go, how did I learn from that? What did I learn from that? And how did that affect me? And not just move on from it slowly. Like, our evolutionary process in our minds and the way we overcome things mentally is amazing to me. And the way we can destroy or heal through our minds, through the way we use our thoughts, our process. It amazes me, you guys. It amazes me so much. It blows my mind every time I think about it. It says you are at a threshold of realizing your inherent strength. To know what you are capable of involves daring to experience the full spectrum of yourself. Full spectrum of yourself. Being vulnerable, being you, being authentic. And no matter what fears are standing there in front of you, no matter who's standing there in front of you going, what's that you're saying? Really owning your humanity, your vulnerabilities, all of it, you guys. This is a huge message. I love that. This includes exploring what you believe you are not. Exploring what you believe you are not. Looking into those things you think you aren't and saying, why don't you think you're those things? Why don't you think you're beautiful? Why don't you think you're capable? Why don't you think you're strong? Ask yourself those questions and then answer with an honest answer. And see if it's something that you personally have chose not to overcome or not to do, or if it's some embedded, conditioned mind process that you've been looping in for, there's so much to going in here in a deep psychological way and finding these things that cause us to feel. And maybe we do have limits. Maybe there are actual physical limits certain people can jump higher than others. There's physical limits. I have short legs. I can only reach so high without a footstool, but I got the capacity. I got the mind to figure out, hey, I need a footstool. It's good to be prepared for things that we know. This may be a limit for me. Is there a way I can get around this or work through this or overcome this? Or is it just a limit? And that's okay, right? Like, there is this real energy to this reading here. How would I handle this situation if I did not feel inadequate? In what ways can my current feelings of vulnerability be perceived as a strength? I love that. So, you guys, this is really nice. Let's go ahead and that was quite a long, you guys got 2 oracles too that came out. So I had to give them both to you guys. So you guys' reading is going to be a little bit longer, but that's okay. They both fell out and they're both valid. So, let's just see what we got. 5. Ooh, scrutiny. So, this is a past card. scrutiny, scrutinizing yourself, scrutinizing others, close examination or inspection, careful study or surveillance, looking at something deeply here, going deep, looking deeply, going through that process of scrutinizing yourself, going through the process of saying, it's kind of how I started this message out with the emotions. Like I had to go through a time where I had to look at my emotions and go, I told myself they were great and strong, and they are, but there is a reality to them not being always strengths, right? The same things that can be our weaknesses can be our strengths, and usually are. So that's my experience. Just be mindful, as you're moving through this energy, doing close looking at yourself, keeping yourself, watching where you are letting either fears or vulnerabilities take away from what you have to offer or overcome. Also, be very mindful of looking, I do these readings for you specifically. So I would say look at yourself objectively and try to see things and scrutinize. Scrutiny is looking at something kind of under a microscope, looking at it and going, where is this? And like, what is that? And like really kind of, I don't want to say picking it apart, but that's kind of the energy I'm getting. It's like looking at your weaknesses and finding like what the strength is in them. What is it? There's something here that's, and maybe you're afraid of being scrutinized. This could be a fear that you've overcame. I don't care what people think of me. Like if they want to judge me, they can judge me. And I know with this being a past card that could be a real message for this card, is that you have done the work. You have picked yourself apart. You've experienced the picking of being picked apart. And now it's being mindful of how we take that. Okay. So watching our energy when it comes to looking back on that. Like, are you going to continue to pick yourself apart? Did you find the strengths that you were looking for? Are we going to hold bitterness or resentment for people that maybe did scrutinize us or point out our weaknesses? No, I think it's really important we honor even those people and it's easy to look at it and go, oh, they picked me apart to death. And sometimes we do this to ourselves too, but we learn a lot. If you actually look at things really honestly and objectively, a lot of the times, especially those closest to us that know us and love us, a lot of the times, even if we tell ourselves, no, they don't love me, or they wouldn't say that if they loved me, we know there is truth to both, good, bad, that. Be mindful of your attitude towards constructive criticism, including your own analyzing of yourself. Be very mindful that we hold a learning energy, a learning attitude, not I'm getting rejected attitude, or I'm getting thrown out like that hopeless dead end kind of catastrophic energy that I was feeling earlier when I was talking. Be mindful of your behavior and your attitude. Follow your intuition. Follow your intuition. She's blinded. She's holding this world. She knows she can find her way through all of this around her just fine. She just has to follow what she's learned. And it is emotional. I do feel like this is a very intuitive, emotional reading, and that there's a navigation here with vulnerability and being seen for who you are and what message you have to bring, and not letting attitudes of others or the attitude of yourself get in your way of focusing on doing the work and making the changes that need made and taking careful looks at yourself. I do feel like this is talking about a lot of self examination, your guys' reading. So let's look at the mental here. Okay. Well, power fell out. And I hate to not talk about what falls out. We're going to keep that in mind. We're going to put it back. Change also came out. But I did want to stick to the system I'm using right now. Okay, which is, all right. And this almost, intuition. See, and this is why I'm glad I'm sticking to it. There is a lot of power. And this looks like a little sprout like growing, right? This is the mental card, and it's emotional and mental health, keeping your self balanced and focused and grounded and moving forward with this energy of I got this. I will make it. I will find my way. I will manage my fears, my insecurities, I'm going to do the work. I'm going to look at this closer. I'm going to take a good, hard look. And sometimes it's hard to look at things and make those changes that we need to make, but we have the power, we have the will to do so. And I especially think cancers are really good at this, especially when it comes to emotional stuff. We're very emotional. But we can come across very, very detached because that's our way of just protecting and not being enmeshed with everybody's emotions. So I do get that a lot. It's this is about being aware of where you're at, what you're looking at, being very present. It says the state of being aware or of knowing something without having to discover or perceive it. The ability to do this, something known or believed instinctively without actual evidence for it. Immediate knowledge of something, knowing something that you've seen and you've looked at and knowing, yes, this is true, or this is correct. This is a good energy in your guys' readings because your intuition is correct. Like your intuition, you're intuitively feeling your way through some major self-examination and self-awareness, and it's helping you to look back at others and see that in your environment around you too. But it's also allowing you to be seen. There is this feeling here of just being seen as a vulnerable person, but not being scared of that. I am getting that message through this Strength of Vulnerability card. There is some mental obstacles to following your intuition because it requires you to say no to things that you are not being intuitively guided to, or instinctually. Be mindful right now. I am getting the message to look at things closely, examine things closely, and don't make any decisions without looking at it very closely and letting it filter through your intuition and listening to, hey, does this feel right? Is this, is this right? Like, you will know, follow your intuition right now. It's very important. It's very, let's see about the emotional here. 4. Wow. It's like this is what I was talking about. Destructiveness. And I was talking about how we can be very destructive or constructive. It depends on how our behavior, our attitude towards our weaknesses, our vulnerabilities, our self-esteem issues, our self-worth issues, our rejection issues, whatever it is. I feel like right now, especially with Mars there, we could be undergoing a lot of that Mars change energy, as things need to change, and if it needs to start with me, it needs to start with me. If there's something around that you feel like, oh my gosh, this is an obstacle, your behavior or your attitude towards it makes all the difference. You can get angry, you can do all that, you can have a bad attitude about it. It's not going to change the fact that there's either something trying to come together or come apart in the situation. This is about learning through your relationships, learning through, especially, I always say this, relationships with yourself, relationships with those around you, that kind of looking back, going, I see you, I get it. Do not be destructive right now. your emotions can cause you to be destructive. This is the emotional card. So there could be a destructive nature right now happening. It could be a control thing. It could be a self-esteem thing. It could manifest as you destroying something, yourself or those around you. Mars is notorious for, if not focused and grounded energy, it can become destructive. It can become conflict. It can cause conflict. It wants to conquer things. It wants to conquer. If something is making you feel vulnerable, something you fear, something you're afraid of, something you can't understand or can't see, it's not about destroying it. It's about looking at it. That's the message I'm getting with the scrutiny and the intuition. Looking at it and intuitively saying, this is not something I can destroy. This is something I need to look better at. And this is something I need to manage, because it's connected to the bigger picture. It's connected to my bigger picture. It's connected to my attitude and my behaviors towards others. There could be some kind of conflict or something happening here during this time period that you could feel hurt, or you could feel rejected, or you could feel judged. And you could deny or reject the intuitive and the self-examination that is needed right now. And you could point that or target that towards those around you right now. There could be something happening here emotionally. Just be very mindful of how your emotions are functioning and what part they're playing in your relationships right now. Cancer, if this is resonating with you, look at what part you're playing, and look at how your vulnerabilities are playing a part in that. What are you doing with your vulnerabilities? If there's something you want to happen with this Mars energy in the house, in the Cancer right now, it can happen. We can focus our energy, our masculine, powerful energy, to make something happen. We can definitely build something. We can definitely destroy something. But it's going to require you to be vulnerable. Not just, I want this done, and I want it done yesterday, and I'm going to get it done. It's going to require some kind of truth, some kind of honesty with yourself. That is what I am getting with that. And if you aren't going to be honest about what it is that you're looking at, that you want to be yourself in or with, be vulnerable towards, it could cause a lot of discomfort, and you have to make things happen, but in a way that is opening and vulnerable and authentic to your emotional truth, okay? Because we can deny, I've learned to block out all my emotions. I'm not emotional anymore. To be fair and honest, I was talking at the beginning of this about cancers being very emotional, and it's the truth. I was just talking about this the other day with a coworker, and I said, yeah, about every 2 months, I run a bubble bath, and it doesn't matter if life's going great or things are sad. It doesn't matter. I have a human journey here, and it's been a very, what I could say, all of our journeys can have these hectic, and there's just things that aren't ever completely, it's humanity, it's feelings, it's emotions. We are emotional creatures, and I have me bubble bath about every two months, whatever, and I bathe in my own tears. I play my Soulfire playlist, and I just cry, I just lay there, and I let the bubbles and the water just cleanse me and purify my emotions, and I just cry. Sometimes it's hard to be vulnerable and human, but that is part of our strength. That is part of our journey, and that's part of how we can help each other and build each other up to be stronger and more emotionally conscious of how our emotions affect each other, how our vulnerabilities affect the world around us, how they cause war, how they cause destructiveness, or how they can cause compassion and kindness and peace. Okay, this is a very important message, and I can feel this for more than just Cancer right now. I feel this. Let's look at the spiritual. Sorry to go off there, guys, but that is a real message, man, coming through. And it's real, it doesn't matter. It does not. Wisdom. This is what I'm talking about. Wisdom. I love that. Wisdom. The knowledge and experience needed to make sensible decisions and judgments, having experience and knowledge, self-examination, to be able to make good choices and not be destructive, but be vulnerable and strong and be guided by your intuition, not letting the feelings get the best of you, not being able to ground them and focus the deeper root of the feeling, because there it is. Make good judgments. So it's the knowledge and the wisdom. You went through stuff. You already know you made bad decisions from, or maybe, let's not say bad. Let's say, maybe bad. Let's just say bad decisions, or, whatever, from a very vulnerable or fearful or emotional place in your life. And we have to be honest and see that for what it is and say, oh, that's definitely me. I can make better decisions now because I've learned that when I'm angry or when I'm sad, these are some of the choices I've made in the past, and it didn't serve me and it didn't serve my highest good. Show good sense by your decisions and judgments that you make with wisdom. This is also saying, as a cautionary, don't be arrogant. Don't be cocky. Don't think you know it all. You don't know everything. Because it will create failure. It will create destruction if you think you've learned it all. You know it all. Keep scrutiny. Keep that scrutiny. Keep that self-examination going. Don't stop. Don't stop examining the world around you and the world within, and taking that wisdom with you and intuitively making decisions that are not destructive, okay, in your life. That's the message I'm getting. And the action to this card is to surrender to what you know. Surrender to what you've learned. If you've learned, hey, I can be an emotional, ticking time bomber. Rejection makes me so want to control everything. And, whatever it is, look at it, examine it, be honest with it, and do not deny that is part of your experience, and it's part of your knowledge, and it's there to help you make better decisions and grow and be able to talk about it and be vulnerable with it. So that is really nice, you guys. Let's go ahead and look at, wow, another 4. Diversion. Wow. That kind of looks like a bird. The physical is always about accepting what is and trusting that what's happening or what's being built is happening and being built for a reason. Do not let something take you off your path. Diversion is I won't even say an obstacle. It's like a distraction, So it can be a distraction or something that takes your attention away from something else. So what the message I'm getting with this card is this: there could be something here where you really need to look at yourself more and your vulnerabilities and your fears. You could be coming into a situation where you want to blame or cause destruction in a relationship or something, and intuitively there's something deeper here going on with you. That's you're feeling something here, and you could be distracting yourself from doing your work, and I hate to say it, but scrutinizing your own reactions, emotions, vulnerabilities, weaknesses, and maybe looking at others instead of looking at what you're doing, the work you're doing on this self-examination. I am feeling there's a lot of self-examination going on in this reading. A change in a purpose or use of something from what was intended or from what something was previously. So something changing, a diversion in plans, or a change in plans. Also a change of focus and attention from one thing to another. You could be changing a path or a direction. But what I'm getting is that you're on a path and you're in a direction of self-examination. And it is a way to create change in your life and the way you have experienced your life. If there is a distraction or some kind of diversion here that could be, hey, I was on path, I was doing this, I was seeing things this way, and now I just feel like you need to look at something, examine something. If this is about something around you, taking you off your path and pulling you away from your intuitive, it could be something coming in here that feels destructive, and it could very well be destructive, that you need to look at closer. It could be a situation, it could be a person, it could just be a choice you have to make that you just need to look at closer, because there could be something here that comes in surprisingly that could be of a destructive nature or a distractive nature, pulling you away from your intuition or what you've already learned or gained from being vulnerable, doing the work, looking at yourself if you're further down. This can very much so be that too, something trying to take you, not trying even, I hate to say trying, but a lot of times some things like this can happen where just something comes in and happens and distracts us. It switches our path. It could be something shocking, surprising, if things look like they are going smoothly, one of the cautions to this card is don't become too confident. And arrogance was in the wisdom card. Don't think you got it made yet. I feel like there is something here that could be a monkey wrench, almost, is what I'm feeling. Things could get a little more difficult before they get easier. Whatever this is. Mars is in this energy, so could be some kind of situation here, where you just need to be very self-aware. The key action to this card is self-awareness. Be aware of your actions, your vulnerabilities, your feelings, the way you're reacting to your wounds or your vulnerabilities. Your weaknesses are your strengths, but you have to make them a strength, not a weakness. And that doesn't mean dominating or controlling others with them. That means looking at them, knowing what they serve their purpose, but not letting them control the way you behave or act towards others, your attitude. There is something here. It feels like a little bit of conflict. Whether this is conflict with yourself and being open and vulnerable around those around you, and you're putting on like a tough exterior, or something's coming in after a lot of self-examination and a lot of work, and you're feeling good about it, and then something gets thrown in here that feels like, that just, like reopened a wound or something like that. That's kind of a little side message coming in that I'm getting. And it's interesting, but there could be something here that's like makes you revisit and re-look at some kind of vulnerability you have in a situation. Don't be aggressive. That's a real big message here with this destructiveness. Perfection. Nice. Interesting. There is some kind of fear or rejection feeling here. Something could be coming in here that makes you feel rejected or fearful, scared, vulnerable. And it's really important to look at that and maybe even talk about it, acknowledge it, but not let it control your actions, your behaviors. You've learned something through this that there's wisdom here with this. The process of becoming or making something perfect. Do not let your ego get in the way. No, the truth is the truth. If there is something here that makes you feel vulnerable or you have to look at deeper within yourself, do not let your ego get in the way. Like, no, that whatever, or divert the attention away from that self-examination onto somebody else. That is a message coming through. and I'm going to definitely keep this in mind as this energy is going through the, the house of my sun and Mercury, my words. I'm going to be mindful of my words and how my ego and my personality, my identity, comes into the energies that we're going to be dealing with here. It's definitely saying, look at that, look at that, look at your personality, look at your ego, look at your vulnerabilities. Do that self-examination. Do not get distracted from yourself, really. It's interesting. It says the process of becoming or making something perfect, someone or something that reaches the highest attainable standard or an instance of this. Just do not let ego get in the way, and do not think you know it all. Do not think you know it all. There is intuition, then there's, hey, I've learned this, but there is something here that feels like you could be protecting some kind of vulnerable part of yourself with some ego, maybe some aggressiveness. And it could cause some destruction. You could even self-sabotage something here. That's the message I'm getting. And it says, don't let fear or rejection. Don't let fear or rejection of looking foolish, it says, stop you. So if you're afraid of saying something, maybe standing in your truth, maybe saying your vulnerability, maybe speaking about your fears, maybe saying, that made me feel rejected, or, or just being your authentic, true self can make you feel like, oh, I'm going to get rejected. Don't let that stop you from looking at something and looking at it honestly. I am feeling like if this is something around you, it needs looked at honestly, and it needs put under the microscope. It needs looked at. If this is something within you, it needs looked at from a very grounded, centered place. Not that emotional place that wants to take over and make all the emotional decisions. This feels like something that's been already looked at, but definitely is getting looked at again, maybe because of a situation here that you could be dealing with, or coming in here, or you could be dealing with it right now. Let's get an affirmation card. See what affirmation is for you guys. Knight of Pentacles, yes. I deserve financial security. Okay, so if you're going for something, to me, the Knight of Pentacles is anything earthly, anything of the material world, step by step, getting there. Taking those cautious steps, those scrutinizing steps. You are taking inventory of every step you take towards your goal, your physical goal. There is a physical goal here. And I think part of it has to do with being open and vulnerable and being able to be yourself and shine your emotional, spiritual body into the world around you without feeling the rejection, without feeling. Now, doesn't mean that isn't going to come up. It doesn't mean there isn't rejection and judgment and stuff in this world. There is. But the way we view it matters on how we either fold back and pull away from the direction we're going, and we stop going towards and moving towards our physical goals, or we continue moving step by step, cautiously, very self-examining. The Knight of Pentacles is a self-examining and cautious and careful and step-by-step process. It's a very particular energy, okay? So that is definitely feeling like I got my eyes on something here. Future, but it's just a slow process. And there could be something here that comes in and makes you feel like stopping or slowing down. But it's saying not to stop moving forward. Stay centered. Doesn't matter how you look. It doesn't matter even how you feel about it, because those feelings feel like fears or vulnerabilities. Just keep moving towards what you're intuitively being guided towards. There is something here bigger. I love this because we already got the message about ego, and there could be like, am getting a message like there could be some kind of maybe disagreement or something here. Surrender your need to always be right. Maybe you're not right about something. You're not seeing something clearly here. You need to re-examine the way you are looking at something, whether this is yourself, a situation, a relationship in your life. You could have high expectations of like perfection, trying to reach something that's just out there. It feels like somebody or something in a situation here could be feeling, you could be feeling, I don't want to say attacked, but you could be feeling put against a corner and vulnerable and maybe afraid, and you could lash out or create a diversion or some kind of energetic bypass to looking at your fears and your vulnerabilities and your need to be right about something. I try to do these messages and give the best, try to relay these messages without like being mean, because we're human and we do want to be right and we do want to, see things our way. And, there's just a feeling here though, especially with this card. Give others the gift of letting them be right. Be yielding, not rigid. This will help resolve conflicts and improve your relationships. There is something here that feels like you've learned a lot. You might be working on something. There might be a revisiting of some kind of vulnerability. But there's a root to that weakness that you need to look at so that you can see things more clearly and maybe strengthen your relationships here. You would feel this. You would know this deep down if this is just like, oh, this is a wound. This is a wound of mine. This isn't their problem. This isn't that. This isn't the issue. The issue is here. I need to look at this deeper. I need to go further into this. That's the message I'm getting for you guys. So I'm going to get a spiral oracle, and then we are done with your guys' reading, Cancer. Mind you, I'm not trying to pick on anybody. I have a Cancer Sun and Mercury, so I am going to be being very mindful, and I'm human also. So, it's a real thing when we feel put in a corner or rejected. Those wounds go very deep, and sometimes maybe we'll laugh off or joke about something that's very serious that makes us feel very vulnerable or very weak, and we'll make a joke about it. We'll crack a joke about it instead of looking. That's a diversion. Let's not create diversions, or if there's changes in plans, or we need to look at something deeper here. Ooh, we got flow. I like this. Going with the flow here. Flow. The flow of life. The flow of humanity. The flow. I love this. I'm going to read this. I walk on this earthly plane through the duality of its light and darkness, including our own. My feet touch the earth. My hands grip the roots. True power lies at the root of the perceived weakness. That was the card of strength of vulnerability. True power lies at the root of a perceived weakness. My feet touch the earth. My hands grip the roots. I immerse myself in the ocean. I look into the eyes of wild creatures. I listen to the song of the birds. I smell the aromas of wild flowers, and I contemplate children, parents, and grandparents. Everything and every experience that is integrated in this ordinary reality actually morphs into an extraordinary spiritual journey. Each moment lived with consciousness, the lantern, clearly shows me that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. By observing the relationship I have with myself, this has also been a message, you guys. Anybody who knows me, who's close in my life, knows I've been talking about this for like 2 days now. Although the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and it is. We must do our work individually first so the whole comes together stronger and more able to be what we are truly growing to be. The seed, the little plant. You guys had that little wisdom. No, what was it? Perfection? Or was it? Oh, intuition. It's like, I know this is going to grow into something. May not be able to tell what it is just yet, but I got to keep looking at it. I got to keep my eye on it. I'm getting that message. Each moment lived with consciousness clearly shows me the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. By observing the relationship I have with myself, with you, with nature, and what I do or do not consume. With all of my life experiences, I receive new tools and teachings that show me my true self. My true self that reveal the path that I am walking on and where it is that I am headed. When I nurture my heart with affection and care, it is reflected in my daily actions. From this space of nurture, encouragement, and attention, I gather my essential knowledge of life, knowledge that is made of pure love. Thus, naturally, the channel through which I share my learning with the world widens. Transmitting the knowledge I have enriches me. Life belongs to me as I surrender to it. Action. My every conscious present moment is that a present, a gift. My life has been full of those little moments. Looking at the path I have traveled, I can see the guiding thread, a natural flow where my most beautiful treasures stand out. With generosity, I share my gifts and sow new seeds of light in the earth. It always seems impossible until it is done. I love that. I love that. And I love that with the Knight of Pentacles, because that is what the Knight of Pentacles means to me. It's about moving forward with that and making something on the earth happen with step by step. And the process is going with the flow. Slow but sure, steady. You may not see it today. I believe it said there was specifically, looking at the path I've traveled, I can see the guiding thread, a natural flow where my most beautiful treasures still stand out. There's like this light, this thread of light going through the forest, and he's like, I can't see through it. And also we got that same kind of energy with the lantern here. It's like getting through this, but there's this, it always seems impossible until it's done. And going through the work, self-examination, dismantling our weaknesses one by one by one, and turning them into something we can honor, something that makes us stronger, is so important, you guys, to this process. So I hope that helped somebody. And that was a pretty big reading, you guys. So self-examination, examination of things around you, following your intuition. Do not be diverted. Do not be distracted. Use your wisdom and the things you've learned on the path you've already journeyed to make good decisions today, right now in the moment, not to self-destruct, nor destruct things around you. Striving here for this perfection. Do not let your ego get in the way and try to make things perfect with this egoic energy. There is something perfect about nature and perfect about the natural flow and vulnerabilities and fears. They make us grow. They make us overcome things that we never thought we could. Stay centered and do not let fear of rejection or looking foolish stop you from continuing to move forward on whatever this is that even could be feeling like, do I really want to continue doing this? Don't let it pull you off course here. I am getting that message. So thank you, you guys. I hope you have a good day, and I'll talk to you later.